Hey guys, AP here, and today we are going to actually start writing some lightweight Java game library code. So, of course, the first thing we always need for a project is a window. So, we should do that in a new package. So, we're going to say new package, and we're just going to call this the engine because even though this is just a game we're programming, we still need a little tiny engine to actually run it. So in the engine, I'm going to create a new package called IO, and that stands for input output. And of course, the window is an output because it's a screen to actually see what we're playing. So, and I'm also going to change this to a hierarchical view. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know, but right now, that's why I'm going to pronounce it as hierarchical. So in engine.io, we're going to create a new class, and we're just going to call this window. If you've seen my previous tutorial, you know that this is all being done by GFLW, and this is no different. We're still going to use GFLW, but the loop is going to be a tiny bit different and a tiny bit smaller, which I think that's pretty good. So the first thing we need to do is we need a constructor. So we need a public void or public window, and then we need some parameters. So the first thing I think we need is a width and a height. So int width and int height. So we can just say we can actually store these as private ints. So private int width and height. And if we go into our constructor, we can say this dot width is equal to width, and this dot height is equal to height. And I think we should also add a title because that's just if you want to make it a different title. So if you want to do that, we also need to say this dot title is equal to title. And we actually haven't added that. So private title or private string title. There we go. So with that, we have ourselves a new window class. Now we're going to create a new function in it called create, and it actually creates the GFLW class. So to do that, just do public void create, and we don't need any parameters for that. And so to do that, we need to initialize GLFW. So we can do that by saying GLFW init. And I'm also just going to add the .gflw and import with Control Shift O. Can it not? GFLW cannot be resolved. I've added it. Yeah, I've added it. Yo, window preferences. Oops, no. Organize inputs. Alright. There we go. Okay, so it's imported. I don't know why. I guess I just had to retype it. So now GFLW is in it. We actually initialized. We need to see if it actually got initialized. So as you saw in here, it actually returns a boolean, and that tells us whether it actually was initialized or not. So we can actually put this in an if statement. And so if it was initialized, if it wasn't initialized, then we need to actually say to the user it wasn't initialized. There's a problem. So we're going to say system.out.print or system.error.println, and then we're going to say error GLFW wasn't initialized. That's not how you spell it. Hold on. I spelled it right here, so I'm just going to steal that. Initialized. And so with that, we can also return -1. or we can just say return. We don't want to continue creating the code. So yeah, there we go. So we just want to return and don't create anything else. So if it was initialized, this would be ignored. So now that we know it's initialized, we can actually create our window. So to do that, we need to set ourselves a window variable. So this is going to be a long because originally GFLW was written in C++, and they have different types of ways of making variables. But for right now, Java actually stores stuff as longs or classes because Java is class-based, and so we're going to store this window as a long. So after we create ourselves a window variable, we need to set that to actually a window created by GFLW. So after we say when private long window, we need to say window is equal to glfw create window. And as you can see, you can have this one, which we're going to need a width, and this is just going to be our width and height. So width, height, title, and then the monitor. For right now, it's going to be null, or it's going to be null as in that null. And sharing of monitors, we're going to say null as well because we don't want to share it. Right. They have to be numbers. So 0, 0, I guess. So GFW create window, and then there we go. It has all these variables. So now we need to see if the window actually got created. This is just a bunch of error handling, so if anything goes wrong, we know what goes wrong. So if we could say window is equal to 0, because if a window is actually created, it's never equal to 0. So if window is equal to 0, then we need to say window wasn't created. So window wasn't created. And then it'll stop all that right there. And so if it was created, it will skip it, and everything's going to be fine. So if we run that, we can't run it now because the window's not going to be shown. So we actually have to show the window. But first, we actually have to set the position to the window. I mean, we don't have to set the position, but it's actually pretty good. So to do that, we need to have a GFW video mode, which is called GFLW vid mode. And we can import that. Is it video? Is it actually called video mode? It's not called video. What? I don't know what's wrong with the importing today. Anyway, so video mode is equal to glfw get video mode, and then the monitor, which is going to be our primary monitor or the one that you use, like the first monitor, or 0 in computer sense. So we have to say glfw.get primary monitor. And after we do that, we've got to figure out why this is not import. There we go. Not create class. We don't want to create video mode. We have to import it. So import video mode. There we go. And so after we do that, we need to set the position of the window to the center of that monitor. So to do that, we need to say window or glfw.glfw set window position. And down here, and so to do that, we need the window variable, which is just window, and then the x position, which is going to be the video mode dot width minus the width that arc window is divided by 2. And this basically centers the window in our monitor. And so the same for the y position except for height. So height, there we go. And now that we have set the position, we might want to actually show the window. So glfw.glfw show window, and then show the window. So if we do this all correctly, we should have ourselves a window. So in our initialization function, initializing game, we actually have to create a window. So public window, 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 and then in our initialization function, we're going to create the window. So window is equal to new window, whatever the width and height we want. Import the window, this one. So I'm just going to say public final int width, and that's going to be equal to 1280, and the height is going to be equal to 760, and that's it. And now that we have ourselves some width and height variables, we can actually put that in our window. So window equal to width, height, and then the tile is just going to be game. We don't have a specific name for the game yet, so let's save that. Window mode. Oh, we have to change it to static. Final static width. So public static final int width and height. There we go. So with that, oh, we also have to change window to static for some reason. So with that, now we can say window.create. Window.create. And if we do that now, we should have a flash of a window, or an error window, or a messed up window, basically. So, but at least it's in the center of the screen. So the problem is that we aren't really calling the window functions that it needs to be called. So it created the window, but what is it going to do now? It has nothing else to do. And so now it's going to be kind of difficult to exit this out. There we go. And so to do that, we actually need to say, in here, we need to say public void update, which basically updates the window and all of its things, and public void, we need this to be, what is it, public void, what is it called? Oh yeah, swap buffers. So after I write the GLFL functions, I'll explain what each one does. So glfw.gfl poll events. So this gets all the callbacks, which is a new term you probably haven't heard before because I haven't really talked about it. So all the callbacks connected to this window is going to be done in the update, and then after that we need to actually swap the buffers for the GLFW swap buffers in our window. So this creates, this swaps the buffers of the window and it actually colors in correctly. So we need to end run after we when we're in our update, we need to say window.update, and then we need to say window.swap buffers. So if all goes well, we should have ourselves a white window. Or a black window. Cool, we got ourselves a black window, and it's working pretty good. So now that we have that, we can't really exit out of it, which is not good. We're gonna have to get Task Manager out for that one. So to do that, we need to have a is close requested, or should close, not is close requested. Let's do this one in task. So in window, we need to say public boolean, because this is actually returning if it's closed or not, should close, and then it should return glfw dot window should, or window glfw window should close in whatever window you want to check for, which is our window, which is our variable. So the next thing we have to do is, instead of while true, we need to say if not window dot should close. So if all this goes well, we should have a window that we can close out of. And we can move it around, we can resize it, and we should close out of it, which is good. So if I was me a year ago, I would create a separate video for the game loop. However, I was too not experienced with this to know that there's actually one function that sets the frame rate of it. So if we go into glfw.glfw, it should be called swap interval. So with swap interval, and we put 1 in there, it should be limited to 60 frames per second. Okay, so after we swap the interval, we also have to make the window context current because GLFW can't do anything to the interval if it isn't the current window. So GLFW dot set or GLFW GLFW. I'm just gonna say set context window context. Where is it? Make context current. There we go. So basically, we want to make the window the one that GLFW wants to edit. So now, to prove that this is working, we are going to actually make ourselves a frame counter. We might want to get rid of these things or comp them out at least. And so the first thing we need is we need a frames. So public or public frames. That's just nothing. And then we need a public time. So long time. And when we're initializing it, we need to actually get the time. So time equals system dot current time millis. And you don't need this. This is just to show that it's at 60 frames per second. And so, oh yeah, static. So let me do that. And then when we update it, we want to show how many frames have passed in each second. So if system dot current time millis is greater than time plus 1,000 milliseconds, which means the second has passed, they want to set the time to the current time millis, and then set frames back to 0, and then console.log how many frames passed. So, sorry, I've been doing too much JavaScript. System dot outprint. So system dot out dot print line, and then whatever it is. So frames. And it should try to stay at a steady 60 frames per second. Either that or close to it, you know. It can't get exactly 60 sometimes. So with this... Oh, I never even... Ah, that's why. Hold on. Frames plus plus. So now, if we do this, it should stay at a steady 60 frames per second. If it... There we go. So 61, 50, 61, 60, 60. I think it runs a little bit slower if I move it or if I do anything with it. See. So as you can see, it runs or tries to run at 60 frames per second. So there we go. I'm actually going to leave this here, but like move it to where it would go in the title. But not right now. I'll do that later on. So that's it for this tutorial. Alright guys, I'm just going to show you real quickly how to change the title. So every time we get a frame, so I'm actually going to put this in the window code. So update, we want to do that. Then we have ourselves the frames in time. And then we can just say in here, boom. And then when we create it, we want to set the time equal to whatever it is. And we go in here, and then we're actually just going to do an under swap interval. And then after we do that, times equals that. So, and when we update it, we are, instead of printing it out onto console line, we're actually going to set the title. So we can do that by just saying glfw set window title. There's a lot of set window title. There we go. So it wants to get the window, whatever it is, which is our variable, and then whatever the title is. And since title is a variable, we have a constant and then plus whatever the FPS is. So plus, I'm just going to do a little line here, FPS, and then that's how many frames it is. So plus, oh wait, line, FPS, FPS, and then how many frames. So plus frames. So if we run it, not there, if we run this now, always say before launching, if we run this, instead of being in the console, we should have ourselves a frame count up here. So FPS, whatever it is. And we also need to fix that there, and we just there we go. And it doesn't even have to be updated every second. It can be updated every single time. Update is actually it does need kind of be updated every second because frames per second, it makes sense to update every second. So as you can see, frames per second, 60, 60, all that. But then like sometimes we move it, it drops down, but it even goes down to 0 if you move it a lot. Oh, I lied. Well, anyways, that's how we make a frame counter as well. So, see you guys later. Bye.